Hello and welcome to the podcast Digital Twin, and today we will talk about how to sell Industry 4.0 solutions. Stay tuned.
Digital Twin Podcast is a place where technology and business is going hand in hand.
If you are thinking about digitalizing your company, you found the right place.
Podcast is hosted by Adrian Stelmach, consultant who implements IT solutions for manufacturing companies.
And Paul Pachovich, industrial digitalization expert, who helps global companies to optimize production processes. Yeah, that's a very good question, Adrian. And this is a challenge for both of us, and this is a challenge for a lot of people that want to bring in value to companies that need that value for sure, but very often they have so much things happening, they have so many things on their plates that they don't have enough time to make the rational decisions, and they don't have all the data and everything. So we want to talk about the fact that selling is hard, but buying is harder. This is this book that I recently, maybe not recently, but that I have read, and I understood that there's no point of like getting upset if somebody that doesn't understand something, because like you have 10 years of experience in creating and implementing those solutions, and if somebody doesn't, that's okay, right? We can make sure that there are like the process is kind of aligned with the expectations, but now I understand more that it's a super difficult process for both. So I like to start this with a question. What do you find most difficult when selling 4.0? I'd like this episode to be a discussion based on the fact that we both understand that selling is hard and buying is harder, right? So we are looking at somebody that's on the other side, trying to put all the pieces together and actually buy a solution that can cost 500,000 euro, a million euro, 2 million euro. What do you find the most difficult when selling 4.0 solutions?
I just want to make a short summary because,
Sure.
in a previous episode, we just talked about how to purchase. We talked about the entire process, how to purchase, and now we are thinking about, and now we will talk about how to sell. And selling is just fitting to the to the purchasing process, which is always different, and we always don't know as a sellers or technology providers how it will look like. That's why I like it so much, because you need a lot of creativity to fit this process. And okay, you asked me why it is so difficult. I think I have few answers for that, but the first one will
Let's
be
go.
the first one will be the mindset of the buyer is something which is sometimes holding everything in blocks, I would say, right? Because as we said before, there's like overwhelming things regarding to technology. You can see it from a different perspectives. You have 100,000 different AI solutions which are solving the same problem and so on, and it's very overwhelming, and to exactly choose to even choose and make a decision to start, right? So if someone have this mindset that new technologies or change or anything, it's not for him, it's very hard to sell to him, right? The second thing would be, I would say, it's trust, right? Because sometimes we think about someone who is selling that he wants to force us to buy something, and in technological solution, this is always a long-term cooperation, right? It's not like I will sell you a software and I'll be happy and you'll stick with it for I don't know how long time. It's always something which we will do together, because maybe I have the software and I have the knowledge how to implement the software, but um, you have the entire knowledge about technology and processes which are in your company, and have to fit. So the trust is the fundament. If there is no trust, there will be no selling or no buying. How about you?
Sure. Uh, my my biggest challenge is kind of maybe similar, but to yours. But my biggest challenge is that there's usually so many stakeholders, involved in the process, and some of them are so far away, so I'm not even able to talk to them, but they still make 80% of the decisions, right? So I think that's what's most frustrating to me, that you know if it's a smaller organization, you can get, you have the ability to set up the meeting with the director or whatever. But if this company is huge, if it's this like international corporations, employing thousands or tens of thousands of people, then it's getting a little difficult. And then I feel that if I was only able to spend 10 minutes with that person, right, the key stakeholder, 15 minutes, I would be able to kind of explain why we're doing this, what are the moving parts, why this is, worth of doing or not worth of doing. But usually, I can't access them, or maybe I can access them for just a little bit of time, and this is not enough. So, I think this is my biggest problem, that there are so many stakeholders, and very often most of them are not accessible, and we kind of have to work with like the people that are kind of messengers. People are also responsible for it, but they make up for like 10%, 20% of the decision making power, and this is the biggest constraint that I see, is not being able to access all the stakeholders. Just being able to access some of them, and then I can't really influence the rest of them. So
Yeah, but if you think about it, for me, the biggest problem in humans in general would be
mm-hmm.
that we have difficulties with compression and decompression the knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I want to just tell you something, anything. The same is with our podcast, right? We are just trying to share this knowledge, but the problem
Mm-hmm.
is that I have everything in my head, right? And how can I compress it in a way that someone on the other side will understand it, and after
Mm-hmm.
that he will decompress this knowledge which I just send
Mm-hmm.
it to him by talking, and also there's some kind of interpretation involved, right? So if you don't have access to the stakeholder, it means that you're like compressing this entire knowledge, giving to someone who's decompressing it, then compressing again, and saying to the stakeholder, right? So it's very difficult that your initial goal, offer, or value will be look like in the same way after the decompression of the stakeholder. Of course, more people
This
involved in the middle, there's more problems involved with decompression and compression.
this is perfect example. I think this is some kind of like international game that you play in like primary school or kindergartens. There's like a line of 10 kids, and the first one says something to the other one, and they just keep repeating whatever they understood, and at the very end is usually something different than what it started with. And I think this is exactly what you described for like communicating to stakeholders, that there's no way that person that hears that's the complexity of the solution for the very first time, can then present it in the way that you would present it to the decision making stakeholders. So that's kind of that's kind of interesting that you gave us this example. Okay, so now that we understand how complex this is, we understand that we kind of dealing with similar problems, but a little different looking at them from a different perspective. The next thing I'd like to focus on is the custom solution versus out of the box solution. Like out of the box or off the shelf solution. There are different names for it. So the custom solution, of course, is much more difficult to sell. And then the reason I wanted to talk about this is my experience is that huge corporations, they have processes that are set up already in a way that it's very difficult for them to implement out of the box solution. It just doesn't make any sense. So what I notice is like smaller companies, they are okay with this out of the box solutions because it's easier for them to kind of change their processes and use the out of the box solution because the processes are easier to change. If we're talking about huge corporations, then it doesn't make sense for them to change anything internally, especially that they have entities in 20 different countries. So then they have to go for the custom solution. So I think that also shows the buying process depending on the size of the company. So I wanted to talk about that as well. Anything that you'd like to add there? Because that's a bold statement that big companies buy custom and small companies buy out of the box solutions.
I would disagree because it's like I would say that in general, if you think about all of the things which company can buy, okay, let's just compare it to, for example, you have a ERP system, right? It could be tailor-made for you. It could be one of the biggest companies like SAP or Microsoft or Oracle and so on. And you can do the same things in Excel spreadsheet, right? So if you buy off-the-shelf solution, it means that you're buying Microsoft Office, right? And you are just programming Excel on your own how it should work. If you buy a solution which is which is customly made to you, it means that there's no module experience, or there's no coding experience involved, right? So vendor is learning with you how the thing should work. And I'll tell you, when I was starting my career, I was focusing only on selling custom software, right? Of course, during years, I had more experience. I know how to better ask questions and so on and so on. And I already had, and the entire company already had some, I would say, parts of software which we could use. But the key, I would say, to any company is to do a great balance between custom software and ready off-the-shelf modules. Because only in this way, because what is giving you modules? Already made modules give you one thing: the experience, years of experience which company has during developing those modules, right? So no matter if you are a small company or you are like a gigantic corporation, you always should consider both, and you should always show the balance between already made modules and something which is customized.
I have to agree. I have to agree. Yes, it makes sense. The combination, the hybrid approach is probably the way to go here. Yeah. So I want to go through, like, I wanted to start with the problems that you're facing, that I'm facing, but I want to look at different approaches, of selling 4.0, 5.0 solutions. So the first one would be custom versus out of the box, right? And then we already covered that. The other one would be inbound versus outbound sales. And then
Mm-hmm.
what I understand here is, if we are to approach a company and recommend one of the solutions, or do the pre-study, or just understand their needs, then we need value proposition. We need to be able to tell them that, there are certain elements that you're probably not doing and you could be doing, and that can efficiently uh, help with your productivity, your margins, and energy consumption, or whatever else. But if you have a company that comes to you, and then they already know that they want ERP, MES, or whatever. Usually they might need something else than they think they do, but then you don't need that value proposition. So if you if you are to sell to them, you basically help them understand if what they need is actually what they need, right? But if you are doing like a, let's say, cold approach, outreach, then this process is completely different. It's there's no so much trust. You have to kind of convince them, kind of present them with the ROI that is sometimes difficult to calculate. It's possible, but there are different factors here. So that would be the other uh, differentiation. So we have custom versus out of the box solution. Now we have the inbound versus outbound. Anything to add here about this, the difference between inbound lead and outbound lead?
Uh, okay, so if you want to like consider that there's two marketing strategies, that you have inbound, uh, when you are focusing on just giving, I don't know, content, giving just yourself out and waiting for the customers to reach you, or outbound when just you are the one who is the initiator of the relations.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, with sales, and if you regard it to sales or marketing, I will not say that one of them is better or worse, because it depends on your specific business, right? Depends on your strategy, depends of how much you are known on the market, right? If someone, for example, calls me from Apple, I know what Apple is, Apple company,
Mm-hmm.
so I exactly know what to expect from them. But if someone calls me from XYZ company, which I don't know, probably I will not spend more than 10 seconds talking to him, right? If I'm not very interested about purchasing. And you also talk about value proposition. So I think value proposition is something which we maybe not entirely as vendors or sellers or technology providers, um, you know, exactly have in mind that we are providing value proposition, but we have to. I mean, there's no space for someone who is the same as everyone else, right? It's the same as we talk about custom versus out of the shelf, right? So if you are making custom, which is 100% custom, it means that you are just saying to someone, okay, I will give you my software engineers, and he will just do whatever you want them to do, right? If you are telling that, okay, I have this experience, I have these modules, and I will show you exactly what should be custom made and what should be made by modules, it means that you are doing what exactly I am doing during my selling process. I mean, I'm guiding the customer on his journey from the problem to solving it by solution, and a specific, I would say, short amount of things which I provide. So, and I think this is the way we should approach. So value is not like code. It's not like IoT device. It's not like a specific ERP module and so on. The value is how you can help to transform your customer from problems, needs, and solutions, which we talked about before, to solving them regarding to specific boundaries which are made by budgeting, by software, by vendors, by roadmap, and so on, right?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. But what I wanted to express is that it's totally different. Like the sales cycle could be, 3 times longer if you're approaching the customer and customer like haven't really thought about, making it happen, and then you have to convince them that yeah, the industry 4.0, 5.0, whatever can change. That like the situation of your company can improve a lot of things, and I wanted to mention that because uh, it becomes more complex if you have to use this value proposition, because to be able to do it you have to know what can be going, what could be done better, or what kind of problems that particular company is dealing with at the moment. And then the value proposition should be, put it in a way that the customer understands that yeah, we do have problems, internal problems, and they can be solved through the technology, and then we can calculate the ROI, or become a trusted vendor for some international manufacturer. So for me, this is two different approaches. Like custom versus out of the box. Same here. With the company that is asking you to solve the problem, they already diagnosed the problem. Then you're not really you still have to go through the same process, but I'm saying that this process will be shorter, most likely, than the process when you have to educate all of the stakeholders and kind of go through all the decision making process, and at the very end you're basically doing the same thing when the company approaches you, but the education part just makes the whole sales cycle way more complicated, and very often longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, so let's like maybe sum it up with the short version of how do we approach sales, or how we should sell those 4.0 or 5.0 solutions. I want to run something by you, because uh, I heard from super experienced person that if you want to sell those solutions, you really have to be an expert, and I mean like a technical expert of selling those solutions. And I know that you have like 10 years of experience with creating those solutions, and consulting companies, on what and how to implement. So the idea that this person was presenting is, to be able to sell this 4.0 solution, you don't need any PowerPoint presentations, which I agree, because I don't think salespeople should be using PowerPoint presentations. They should be using them, but only after they discover what the problem is, right? Then they should tailor their presentation. But I've seen many salespeople starting with the sales presentation that talks only about their company, not even mentioning the customers' problems or needs, which is unbelievable. But this is still majority of salespeople out there. So what that person said was, you have to be an expert enough, so you can, first of all, you have to know what would be the outcome of the implementation that you're responsible for. But he said that you have to come in with no presentation, and you have to, and I'm only saying that because I'm guessing this is what you're doing. um, you're coming in, and they are probably some business people, some technical people, and you're not showing up with this presentation. You most likely are having a visit, an offline visit, which is like you're sitting in one room, face to face, and you ask questions, you learn about the problem, about the problems. Sometimes they're not aware of the problems. They just aware that they need to be better, improve something. Then you ask those questions, and then you present them with a solution right there. It's not like a perfect solution. There's no estimation. It's not like you're giving them the exact price for it, but you can tell them that, yeah, based on what you just told me, this is what is possible to do, and the price range for that is that much, and that, and I wanted to find out from you if this is, if you agree with this statement that to be able to sell those 4.0, 5.0, 3.0 solutions, you have to do it this way, or you have just another approach.
Yeah, mainly you just describe what I do, but I want to go more deep maybe in it. You talked before about presentations, right? And the presentation is something like, for example, if I ask you, okay, let's go to compete in some sports, right? You don't know what kind of sports we will compete, and you are just showing your muscles, right? But you don't know if we will play chess, so your muscles was not needed there, right? And the same is with the presentation. If I don't know exactly what are your problems, what is the competition, and what is your business all about, I cannot tell you what is my presentation. I can tell you what the company is, I can tell you what is my experience, I can just tell you some basics, which I can show you on 5 slides. But what can I say about my solutions if I don't know who you are, right? So my approach, because I know the entire process, because I was previously, before running a company, I was previously like a engineer, and I was just implementing this kind of solutions, right? So I know exactly how those things are made. And of course, if you are a seller, you have to know, it depends how your like a selling process looks like, and how your selling department, also what kind of people you are involved, right? Because you can have someone who is like from the first contact, and someone for the second contact who is someone who is like a key account manager, and so on, right? But if you focus only about what I do, what I mostly do is to just talk to people and diagnose what are the real problems, right? Because let's say you're talking to me, you're the customer, and you're saying, okay, my problem is that I'm paying too much for electricity, right? But is this your real problem, that you're paying too much for electricity? Or your problem is that your boss is expecting you to pay less in general, not exactly from electricity, right? And maybe you can cut those things in some other areas. And this is what I do. I want to understand what is your problem in this entire situation. And if I understand what is your problem, then we can talk about what is your company problem, your boss problem, and some other people problems. So we should start in a minimalized version of problems, needs, and expectations, right? Which we talked about in the previous episode. Because it also regards not only to companies and to the entire digital transformation roadmaps, but it also fits to individual like people who are purchasing, or individual engineers. So if I exactly know what is your problem and so on, then we can talk about possible solutions, right? And if your problem is that you're paying too much for electricity, you can just throw out one of those machines on your production, right? Problem solved. Right? Or the other one could be, you can just tailor-made some software which will analyze from where what is your Pareto, right? What are the top 5 things which are taking most of the electricity from your plant, right? So you can solve this problem in 100,000 ways, but if I don't understand like your broader context, and if I don't understand you and your specific role in this, it's hard me to help you. So you have to invest in trust in me, and I have to invest a lot of time to help you before you even pay me, right? This is how it looks like.
Yeah, building trust it takes time, and it's an unbelievable thing. But the very last thing before takeaways that I wanted to discuss is most IT solution providers that are not custom, They could be big companies, making billions of dollars, but they have this one solution that they show and present. They have great case studies. They have implemented that within very many different manufacturing plants, and my question is, how do you decide, who to trust? Well, like, it it's so it's so difficult to describe. How do you make the decision, and have these big corporations that have implemented that solution in 20 different companies, some of them similar to you. You kind of feel drawn to this, and you kind of feel like, yeah, this is probably something that I should be considering more than creating this custom solution, or maybe even a hybrid of like, how do you make that decision? How do you influence the decision makers, so they trust you? I trust you, as Paul, but how do you make people trust you if they don't know you? And you obviously know what you're talking about, but how do you do it? Like, what's your secret sauce for that?
Okay, so I would say it will be a combination of two. So
Mm-hmm.
first one is I have this entire knowledge, experience, and I know it, like, not from selling point of view, but from implementation point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just tell you on the meeting, like, okay, these problems usually are being solved in this way, and usually it should cost in these boundaries. So after
Mm-hmm.
one meeting with me, you exactly know uh, if which way you should go. So if it's possible to buy this in 5,000 euros, or you have to spend like 500,000 and so on, right? So this is the first thing. The second thing is, it's related more about mindset, right? Because usually sellers have a mindset that, if we have a customer, we have to sell him something, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
I have this person who I'm talking to, I have to sell him something, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I have to just sell, right? And I'm not telling you that this is like a wrong approach, but I'm telling you that my approach is way different, because my mindset is firstly to help. And I'm okay with after you're like contacting me, you want something from me. I'm okay with telling you, okay, I'm sorry, but I cannot help you. I don't know. I don't have knowledge about that. I'm not SAP provider. I'm not I cannot do it in this way, and so on. And this is how you build trust, right? Because if you tell someone, okay, I can help you in this way because I have experience, I can just show you my implementations in other customers, I can take you to talk to them, and so on. And this one, I'm if you are showing other person like your problems, you're vulnerable, the way you're vulnerable on, it means that you're gaining the trust, and this is the first thing. And I'm not saying that trust is something which you need to have if you are selling this kind of like a big projects and so on, because it's not something you will finish after 1 or 2 weeks. It's something which you sometimes will take years, of 10 of years even, because it could be like a constant cooperation. So change your mindset if you're a seller, and think about how to help, not how to push someone, because there's millions of customers in the world. If you have the one which you are talking to, it doesn't mean that it for sure it have to be the one who will purchase from you, right? And that's it. Just change it and just learn. And if you don't have the knowledge, because if you're not a technical guy, maybe uh, maybe you need a bigger team, because you need to build this trust, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. If you cannot do it, if you're not two in one, like you, then use your team for the pre-sales part. Be sincere. But I know that this is great, but I know that some people will still have these trust issues, and then and they might go with whatever they think is better, because trust is something intangible. But
Yeah,
thanks for
but if you think about it, uh, let's say you have your entire purchasing process, right? You're a purchaser,
Mhm.
from purchasing department, you're the entire process. There's a step that you have to compare, like, at different companies, right? You cannot just
Mhm.
buy because someone looks nice, right? Or he's like
You can,
helpful.
but we don't recommend that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We didn't recommend it. But, in the end, in corporations, you always need to have these three magical offers, right?
Mm.
And how you want to compare those offers, right? How you want to do it? Like, this is very difficult. And if you don't process with someone the entire thing, if you don't have someone who's trusting you and who you can trust him, it's like impossible, right? Like, so
True.
so that's
No,
why
no.
you need to build the trust in both ways.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, this is a complex topic of trust, and I think you need trust to do anything, and especially if you're selling super expensive solutions. And then yeah. So thanks for like sharing. Your secret sauce for building trust, and I think that the right people, they will trust you, and if you cannot do it, then I'm sorry, but the people making the decisions, they are on their own, because if they choose the partner that is not going to deliver, then I'm sorry, but but that happens a lot. Any takeaways for this one, or the
Yeah,
whole episode was like one big takeaway?
yeah, I would say, because when we were thinking about what to record the episode, I think those two, so today's one and the one before, are, you should listen to both of them, like, in the same time, because you know if you are buying Industry 4.0 solutions, you should know how the selling process looks like. And also, you should know how the purchasing process should look like, and you can compare it to whatever you have in your company, and vice versa, right? If you're selling, you should know how potentially should the purchasing process looks like, and what is the role of trust in it, right? Because I see one problem, and I would say that this is my takeaway. uh, Mostly people who are selling, who are buying, they are thinking, okay, this is the guy, what he wants to sell me today, right? And I'm thinking in the way, look, I'm just talking to you for free. I'm just helping
Yeah.
you for free. I'm just giving you a lot of things just for free. You can just, take all of it, write it down, use it, and that will be it, you know? And you will, shake my hand and give me something after you buy, and after the project will be finished, because after that I will know what exactly costs do I have, right? So,
Hmm.
I'm investing a lot in these relationships from the beginning, and I will know how my investment is returning after the projects will finish after 1 year and so. So try to see my point of view of the situation, right? If
Right.
you are a purchaser.
Yeah. My takeaway would be buyer enablement, which is basically what you're describing, um, which is like kind of being, and please don't take it in the wrong way, being a coach of the person that is maybe buying this solution for the very first time, maybe. So buyer enablement is something that I think most salespeople should do. Not a lot of them use it, because you've if you only have one solution to sell, you're gonna sell this one solution. You will not be able to sell any other solution, and very often that solution maybe like covering 60, 50, 70% of your problems, but not all the problems. But you still will be pushing to sell that solution, because that's the only solution that you have. So buyer enablement involves the relationship between the salesperson and the and then the entity or people buying it. But I would recommend looking at the sales process. So I would recommend salespeople to be looking at the sales process as the buying person is looking at it, and then the other way around. If that's possible, and if there is trust involved, you can do magic. But if you always assume that the salesperson is trying to sell you something that you don't need, and then yeah. So I think this is my takeaway. Buyer enablement, and this is a relationship. This is not a sales transaction, especially if we're talking about this complex solution that we deal with most of the time. So that's my takeaway. It was really good. That was a good conversation. I felt like the 10 years of your experience just enabled this conversation, and I appreciate the fact that it was like transparent communication. So it wasn't really selling. It was really trying to help. So it was really good. Thank you for that, and thank you to the people listening and or watching this, and we'll have some more information, so some more like real life examples, case studies, and stuff like that in the next episode. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.